We were married for 5 years. I gave birth to 3 children. Each time they were born unexpectedly and died. When I gave birth to the 4th child, I was afraid to sleep day and night, but something happened while I was unconscious for a few hours. I was heartbroken. When I went to see Lucas, I overheard him talking to a friend. "You hurt your 4 biological children in order to cure Emily's stepsister Sophia's disease. Is it really worth it?" Lucas looked at the photo of his stepsister in his hands. His eyes were full of deep affection. If it weren't for Sophia's rare disease, I wouldn't have to use stem cells from a biological relative. I don't want to kill these children either. There's no choice. I can't let Sophia die in front of me. They're just a few children. If that's not enough, we'll find a way to convince Emily to have more. There's always a way. After learning the truth, I felt like I'd fallen into an ice cave. The children I worked so hard to give birth to were actually there to save my stepsister. "In that case, I will let you do it." Lucas' friend Michael sighed. Then he persuaded. "What about the 4th child? Emily has already lost 3 children. Sophia's condition has also stabilized. At least let Emily keep 1 child. After all, she is a mother." Lucas said without hesitation, "You can have more children later. Although Sophia's illness is now stable, if something happens, I can't bear to lose her." This time Emily was particularly strict with the children. If I hadn't given her a sleeping pill, we would have missed the chance to develop an effective treatment for Sophia. Michael felt sorry for her. Emily hadn't done anything wrong. She loves you so much, and she's willing to have so many children for you. Isn't that a bit unfair on her? Lucas's expression was cold. He said, "I can't help it, but I can't just leave Sophia alone. As for Emily, the children she bears will be used to make the medicine that will cure Sophia. It will keep Sophia alive. I won't let her down. I've already married her. I intend to spend the rest of my life making it up to her." Something suddenly occurred to him. He turned to his brother. "My attending physician, when can Emily have a baby? I'm worried about Sophia's condition." Michael advised with a frown. "She's too weak. If she gives birth again, I'm afraid she won't survive." I was standing in the doorway. Hearing these words, I trembled all over. I wanted to lift my feet and go back to the ward, but I was too weak. I fell heavily to the ground. Lucas heard the noise outside. He hurried over. He took me in his arms. He said, "Emily, why are you crying and coming to me barefoot? The floor is so cold. You just gave birth. How worried I am about you," he said sincerely. He seemed to be especially worried about me. I held back my tears and said with a bitter smile, "The wound from the cesarean section hurt so much." "Where is our baby?" I already knew the answer, but I couldn't help asking him. He seemed to have a reason ready. With a sad tone, he said, "Emily, I've been keeping this from you. I was afraid it would upset you. Our 4th child didn't survive either. The doctor told us. He died of congenital heart disease. I just felt a blackout." Lucas immediately put me on the hospital bed. He comforted me. With my last ounce of strength, I asked, "Where is the baby? I want to see him." Lucas turned his head a little sheepishly and said, "I was afraid you couldn't handle it. I had him taken to the crematorium. Emily, don't be sad. We'll have other children." He didn't even give me the chance to see my child. Lucas took the nurse's towel and helped me clean the dirt off my body. He didn't mind at all. He kept reassuring me, "Emily, we can still have more children." As if the heartbreaking news I had just heard was a lie. I looked at him. I felt him become a stranger I was scared of. I remember when I was 10 years old. My mother was very sick. My younger sister came to our house with her 1-year-old stepdaughter to claim her rights. My mother was furious. She passed away not long after. I was living in hell. My stepmother would beat and scold me at every turn. She would prick my fingers with needles. She would drag me into my room and slap me. Sophia took my room. I had to sleep in the cold storage room. Lucas was like a hero who suddenly appeared. He took me away from that place. He told me, "I'm here. My stepmother can't bully me anymore." He got me out of trouble. I saw him as my savior. He said he wanted children. I quit my job. I focused on getting pregnant. I had several children in quick succession. But every time I gave birth, the baby either accidentally suffocated or was born with a birth defect. They all died. He held me in his arms and cried. He said he had failed to protect me and the children. He made me go through the pain of giving birth again and again. I thought he really loved me, but I never expected that he would give our children to my stepsister as medicine for her illness. I closed my eyes in despair. I thought I was relieved, but it turned out to be an even deeper predicament. Can a person really do this for someone they love? Lucas said he had an urgent matter to attend to abroad. He was worried that I would be sad alone, so he gave me his computer. He wanted me to be distracted, I remember, every time I gave birth to a child. As soon as the child was pronounced dead, he would find all kinds of excuses to fly abroad. Looking back now, the day I gave birth to my child must have been the day Sophia received treatment. He hurried to be by his lover's side. I opened a foreign social media platform. I found that their romance was the talk of the town abroad. The news headline read, "Lucas has set up a medical institution and a nursing home dedicated to his lover with a rare disease. It only serves him." Lucas accompanied his lover for chemotherapy. The two embraced tightly. It looked sweet. In the photo, Lucas stood next to Sophia, with a happy smile on his face. They are sure that I will not check foreign websites. They don't even bother to hide it. Their love is praised. Their medical achievements are admired by everyone. But who knows? Is this superficial beauty built on the suffering of my child? His social media has a new message. I enter the password. It is indeed Sophia's birthday. His phone chat background is full of beautiful photos of Sophia. "Sophia, don't worry. I'm on the plane right now. The child's body has been used by the medical team to create medicine to save you. You will definitely be fine. I promise. This chemotherapy, I will always be by your side. I also have a gift for you, a reward for Sophia for not crying during chemotherapy." He posted a picture of a yacht. Because Sophia likes the sea, he promised to take her on a sea trip after her chemotherapy is successful. There are also chat records between him and the doctors in the photo. They were all children I had never seen before. They had supposedly died. They were so small, chubby, cuddled up together. They had not even opened their eyes to see the world. And they had left. At the time, I asked Lucas to name the children. He casually said Yi. The second child was The third was Shan. I thought he was looking forward to the birth of the children as much as I was. He had already thought of names early on. It turned out that he had never really loved these children. Those were just the numbers he had given to his experiments. I stared at the screen. My tears blurred my vision, but I found it in the chat history. They had raised a puppy together. He claimed to be the father. He had thought for a long time about a name, Fat or glutinous rice, Ball. No, these names were all too common. How about Akeson, last name Lucas? Lucas Akeson Sophia. Sophia's dog is more important than my child. I suddenly burst out laughing. The laughter was particularly loud. I laughed until tears came to my eyes. A few days later, Lucas returned. He brought me a necklace. He said it was to make up for not spending time with me during my confinement. I stared at the necklace in his hands. I suddenly remembered something Sophia had posted on a social media app. She said she was tired of wearing these necklaces and wanted to throw it in the trash, but Lucas said he could keep it. As compensation, he let me take charge of the limited edition spring necklace. This necklace, she didn't want it. Lucas picked it out of the trash and gave it to me. I smiled. Lucas didn't notice my unusual behavior. He continued, "Emily, let me take you home to rest. Your father must be worried about you too. I've said so many times, I don't want to see my father, but he still can't remember." It suddenly occurred to me. Sophia's due back home in a few days. He really doesn't want to be apart from the one he loves for even a moment. When I arrived at my father's house, I could already feel the buzz of the welcome party. The house was decorated like a princess's room. There was a sign on the door that said, "Welcome home, Sophia's little princess." The atmosphere was full of joy, but no one noticed that my child hadn't even reached the 7th day. Sophia is sitting in the middle of the sofa. Her father and stepmother are sitting next to her. It looks like they are a real family. Sophia's condition has stabilized. Her face is rosy and glowing. This makes me look even more haggard. She sees me and asks, "Sister, I'm back. Aren't you happy? Why do you look so bad?" Before I can say anything, my father and Lucas are already jumping at the chance to scold me for her. What bad luck. I should never have let Sophia come to the welcome home party. We've been married for 5 years. We don't even have a child. If I pass on my bad luck to Sophia, what will happen? I never thought I'd hear those words come out of my father's mouth. After he finished speaking, everyone around him kept their distance. It was as if they were afraid of being affected by my bad luck. Not only did Lucas not say a word in my defense, he reprimanded me instead. "Sophia has finally returned home. Who are you putting on a long face for? Everyone knows you're Sophia's sister from this dress. You didn't mean to embarrass her, did you?" My C-section wound was still healing. I wore a loose-fitting top, but I was still told I was sloppy. Sophia pretended to be nice and came to my rescue. She told someone to take me to change. Every dress was custom-made to her measurements. They made me look thin and long. I had just given birth. The loose skin on my stomach can't be hidden. Sophia even picked out a tight-fitting dress that shows my belly button. I put it on. The scar on my stomach is exposed. It looks like a centipede and is terrifying. I'm ugly. She looks elegant like a white swan. Lucas doesn't want to walk with me either. He thinks I'm a disgrace. He stands next to Sophia, taking care of her like a mother hen. He completely forgot who his wife was. Sophia's second daughter was very ill, but she still looked noble and graceful. Unlike that man, his hair was a mess. He looked like he was having a bad day. Yes, no wonder Sophia's father only recognized Sophia as his daughter. It's not surprising. 2 daughters. One looks like a phoenix. The other looks like a mountain chicken. The people at the banquet spoke harshly to me, but they were eager to give Sophia gifts. My father, John, gave Sophia all his assets and company shares. He left her the entire inheritance. Lucas also had people bring in a pile of valuable diamond and gemstone jewelry. The value was terrifying. Dozens of designers created unique dresses and everyday clothing for her. The crowd around them was amazed at the sight of all these treasures. Sophia loves beauty. I personally designed all the jewelry, and the clothes were tailored to her body. Lucas thought there might be some misunderstanding. So he said to me, "I heard that Sophia's illness has just stabilized, and she is your younger sister. As her brother-in-law, I should do all this. Emily, don't think too much about it. But I have never enjoyed such treatment. Seeing all those exquisite and expensive jewelry, I was tempted too." But he said, "You stay at home all day, dressing up so nicely. Why do you need to look so good? No matter what you look like, I like you. And I don't want other men to have any thoughts about you." He tried to make Sophia like a beautiful flower, caring for her carefully, but I could only watch me slowly wither. "Is this the result you want?" Sophia was very happy. Smiling, she asked, "When did you quietly prepare the surprise?" I didn't even notice. She picked up a diamond hairpin and pointed at me. She wanted me to put the hairpin on her hair that my husband had given her. "Sister, you put it on for me." I picked up the hairpin, but I didn't put it on her head. I didn't realize that her wig had suddenly fallen off. It turned out that her hair had fallen out completely due to chemotherapy. She was wearing a wig. Sophia was stunned. She suddenly screamed and covered herself. She cried uncontrollably. She shook the wheelchair crazily and rushed into the room. I froze in place, but he suddenly pushed me away. Lucas hurriedly pushed me away. He chased after her, Sophia. His eyes were full of guilt and worry. He glared at me. His eyes were full of anger. "You did it on purpose, didn't you? You made Sophia's wig fall off, revealing her bald head after chemotherapy. Did you want to embarrass her? Emily, you're so jealous." Sophia covered her face and burst into tears. "Don't blame your sister. She didn't mean to do this to me. I'm just sad. Why did it have to be me?" Lucas was so distressed. He had me tied up. "Emily owed you this." I struggled as hard as I could, but I had no strength. Lucas had my long hair cut into a mess, just to make Sophia happy. When I saw what my hair had become, Sophia finally had a smile on her face. She wheeled her wheelchair towards me. She stares at me. Her eyes are cold and vicious. She lowers her voice. "Just the 2 of us can hear her. Now that you're like this, how are you going to seduce Lucas into having a baby? You know how the other children died. When I strangled. When I dropped, and one never reached me. It died on the way." I stare at her with wide, painful eyes. But she didn't think that was enough. "Go on. When they were delivered, they were crying and could already drink milk. But so what? They died just as easily." I froze in place. It felt like my heart was going to break. Then she took my hand and hit herself. Sophia took a loud slap. She fell from her wheelchair to the ground. A shallow, bloody line appeared on her calf. She said to me with a grievance. I felt that my brother-in-law had gone a bit too far. I wanted to apologize for him. "Sister, why did you hit me?" Before the words finished, Lucas kicked me in the stomach. I fell to the ground. My stomach hurt badly. "Emily, I really misjudged you. Sophia's illness has just stabilized, and you treat her like this." He stared at me. His eyes were cold and fierce. "If something happens to Sophia, I'll never let you off the hook." The stitches had barely healed. I got a hard kick in the stomach. Blood poured out. It was everywhere. I curled up in pain. He just gently covered Sophia's eyes. He said calmly, "It's bad luck. Don't look." As soon as the ambulance arrived, Lucas immediately picked up Sophia and took the bed. The doctor pointed at me. "This patient has lost a lot of blood. The situation is more serious." He interrupted impatiently. "She has already given birth to 4 children. What is a little pain?" he added. Sophia's condition had just stabilized. There was no room for error. He kicked me a few times, as if to make sure I was really unconscious. When we arrived at the hospital, Lucas called in an orthopedic surgeon and an internist. Everyone gathered around Sophia for a thorough examination. He whispered to the doctor, "Sophia is afraid of pain. Please be gentle when disinfecting. Sophia loves beauty. Please use the best scar cream. The nurse was originally helping me stop the bleeding." She was also called to pour hot water for Sophia. I kept an eye on them. I endured the pain and treated the wound myself with gauze. I also found a hat to cover my messy hair. After doing all this, I limped out. We had been married for 5 years. All the feelings I had for him vanished in an instant. I sent all the evidence proving that he had killed my child to Lucas's email address. With the last bit of my lucidity, I grabbed my plane ticket and got on the plane. On the other side, Lucas finished up his business. He found a pool of blood on the hospital bed where I had been lying. The person was gone. He asked anxiously, "Where is the woman who was lying here?" Lucas hurriedly stopped a doctor who was passing by. Anxiously, he asked, "Where is the woman covered in blood?" The doctor stammered. "The person who was just looking after her was called away by you. She asked me for some antiseptic iodine and gauze." I don't know what happened after that. Lucas thought Emily had just gone home in a huff. He picked up his phone and called Emily several times, but there was no answer. He sent Emily a voice message. Still no response. Lucas looked at the bright red blood on the hospital bed. His eyes stung. He thought of how Emily was so afraid of pain. Now there was so much blood. How much pain must she be in? His heart felt empty. It was as if something important had been taken away from him. Sophia called out Lucas' name quietly from the ward. She said, "Lucas, are you looking for your sister?" She frowned and complained softly, "I don't even blame her for pushing me over. She's so good. And imitating others by running away from home. I think she might be envious of you for treating me so well. She wants you to pay more attention to her." Seeing Emily leave, she secretly rejoiced in her heart. Lucas, however, coldly said, "Emily would never do such a thing. She just gave birth to a child. She hasn't even properly recovered from childbirth. Her belly is still hurt. You are her younger sister. If you don't care about her, that's fine. But you actually want to frame her." Sophia quickly denied. I got on the plane. An unknown passenger next to me saw my bleeding wound. He asked with concern, "Ma'am, do you need any help?" I looked at his worried eyes. I shook my head gently. Even a stranger would help me, but my husband Lucas, who I have been married to for many years, has ignored me. I turned on my phone. I saw an apologetic message from Lucas sent from the hospital. He said, "I was too impulsive just now. Emily, you understand. Sophia's illness has just stabilized. You treated her like this. There are so many guests here. Someone will inevitably start gossiping. Don't worry about Sophia. I've already apologized for you. She said she won't blame you. Honey, go home and wait for me. Okay, I promise I'll make it up to you." At this hour, he's still pretending to be affectionate. I don't care about his voice. Thinking that all the files should have been sent, I pull out the SIM card, fold it in half, and throw it in the trash. I never want to have anything to do with him again. It wasn't until I was on the plane that I really felt like I was leaving. I'm going to the United States. Because my 4 children died there, I want to go see them. I closed my eyes as I watched the scenery outside the window slowly change. I was so tired that I fell asleep. Memories of Lucas flooded back to me. He looked at me deeply and whispered, "I will always be good to Emily." He gently touched my stomach and said that he would definitely be a good father in the future. We both picked out gifts for the baby together, but suddenly, he gave me a sharp kick. I fell to the ground. Blood was everywhere. He stared at me. His eyes were fierce. There was no emotion in them. I suddenly woke up. I saw a strange view outside the window. My mood gradually calmed down. After seeing on the monitor that Emily had treated her wound herself, Lucas left the hospital without hesitation. He felt very sad. At this time, Sophia noticed that Lucas's gaze was not on her at all. She asked softly, "Lucas, my leg is still a bit swollen. I can't walk. Can you carry me out into the sunshine?" Lucas didn't listen to her this time. He impatiently said, "I'll ask the doctor to wheel you out." Lucas's assistant rushed in and said, "Lucas, something's happened. Madam has sent a file over." It says Lucas immediately grabbed the computer. Although it was just a simple compressed package, he had a bad feeling in his heart. He waited a long time for the file to unzip. His heart was racing with nervousness. His hands were shaking so much that he could hardly click on the file. Photos popped up one after the other. They were all photos of their children. There were also chat logs between him and the hospital. They demanded that all the children be used to study Sophia's condition. Even the chat logs between him and Sophia were exposed. Did she already know all this? Lucas' mind was completely blank. He froze for a long time. She actually knew all this a long time ago. This is impossible. Impossible. Lucas muttered under his breath. How could Emily know? The evidence was clearly there in front of him. He remembered the strange, hateful look in Emily's eyes when she looked at him. She found out that her husband, whom she had loved for many years, had used all 4 children as experimental drugs. How desperate she must have felt. Lucas didn't dare to imagine it. He had warned him long ago, urging him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. Michael walked up behind him, sighing, gently patted him on the shoulder. Sophia was overjoyed to hear that Emily had learned the whole truth. Her sister had known about it for a long time, but she kept it a secret from everyone, and now she's suddenly left. Is she trying to make everyone feel sorry for her? She criticized. This time, Lucas interrupted angrily. Enough. You used the medicine made from her 4 children, and you still have the nerve to say such things. You're really an ungrateful person. You know very well that you just wanted to embarrass Emily. You deliberately created the illusion that she had harmed you, so that you could look like the victim. Right? Sophia didn't expect Lucas to have seen through her actions completely. She turned pale. She wanted to explain, but she couldn't find anything to refute. She could only hold her head, pretending to feel dizzy, trying to evoke the last shred of compassion in Lucas. Lucas's face was cold. He pushed Sophia's frail body away as she leaned in. He said, "If you're sick, go see a doctor." Lucas didn't turn around. He walked straight out of the hospital. He drove his car at 170 miles per hour. He sped all the way home. He stared at the front door, holding onto a glimmer of hope. Emily loved him the most, if he explained seriously, and coaxed her a little. She would definitely forgive him. He pushed open the door. The house was quiet. It felt especially deserted. Emily wasn't there to greet him with her usual enthusiasm, to help him unwind with a smile. He quickly walked through every room, but he couldn't find her anywhere. All he could see were the little wooden horses she had made by hand for their future baby. They were still in the living room. Lucas remembered when Emily was pregnant for the first time. She talked about the baby in her belly. Her eyes were full of happiness. She exuded the soft glow of motherly love. She hugged him like a little girl. She spoiled him by asking him to name the baby. He thought about it and said, "Let's call him Yi." Emily praised. "What a great name." She gently touched her belly and said tenderly, "Yi, grow up quickly. Mommy and Daddy will love you very, very much." After the child was born, he lied that the child had suffocated and died. He sent the child abroad and handed it over to Sophia to make the miracle medicine. Emily was deeply affected. She was depressed. She was in a slump for more than half a year. The same trick was used with the following children. They used sweet words and promises to coax Emily into having child after child. Even the 4th child was not able to stay with her. Lucas punched himself hard. He had personally driven his children to their deaths. He had let Emily down. "I have settled abroad. I found the medical facility Lucas built for Sophia through their chat history. I found the children's graves. They left as soon as they were born. The gravestones are small. I knelt there all day, saying many things. May you be happy in your next life." I left that place and went to work at a welfare institution. There were many abandoned children there, of all skin colors, able-bodied and disabled. The director didn't want me at first. She said I was too young. I had definitely never given birth, let alone raised children. I told her I had, and I had 4 of them. Unfortunately, they had all passed away. The director hugged me, covering her mouth. In the end, she agreed to let me stay. I devoted myself to taking care of these children. I poured all my love for children into them. The children all liked me very much. They said I was just like their mother. I was very happy. Although I didn't have my own children, but I take good care of them. I saw news about Lucas again. This time, he was being interviewed on TV. He's changed a lot. I remember that he used to be very clean. He shaved every day. And he was a serious neat freak. But on TV, he looked tired. His beard was unkempt. It looked like he hadn't shaved in a long time. He looked like he'd seen a lot. The host was surprised at the size of his company. He kept praising him. The host asked, "You built a medical institution especially for your partner. It only serves her. It makes many girls envious. Do you plan to open this medical institution to the public in the future?" Lucas's face fell. "She is not my partner. I only have one wife." Lucas turned the screen of his phone towards the audience. My photo was clearly displayed on it. His eyes were gentle as he looked at the photo. The host sensed that the atmosphere was a bit awkward. He quickly added, "Lucas is so successful in his career. You and your wife must be very happy. When are you going to have a baby?" Lucas's face grew increasingly ugly, but he didn't say anything. He was silent for a long time, until the host was about to change the subject. He spoke, "We once had a very cute baby. It's all my fault." He talked about sad things. His eyes were red. "I'm sorry to my wife. She's gone," he said with a trembling voice. "Emily, if there is a chance, I really want to see you again." He stared at the camera, as if he could see me through the screen. I quickly turned off the TV. The child in the Welfare Institute asked, "Emily's mother, the uncle on TV is quite good-looking. Why aren't you watching it anymore?" I patted her head gently and said, "It's okay. Emily's mother will show you a different cartoon, okay?" The child clapped his hands happily. Lucas quickly found me. The director told me happily. "A wealthy investor has invested a lot of money in the Welfare Institute. However, the other party specifically asked me to communicate with them." I felt a little uneasy. When I went over there, I really ran into Lucas. As soon as he saw me, his eyes lit up. He immediately stood up from his seat and came towards me. "Emily, is it really you? They said they had heard from you. I didn't believe it over the years. I have heard about you many times. Every time I rushed over with high hopes. But it turned out that it wasn't you. Luckily, I didn't give up." He hugged me tightly. His voice was full of joy at the reunion. I took a step back and said, "You might have the wrong person. I'm Lily." Lucas didn't believe it. He stared at me closely, afraid that I would leave again. He said, "I won't make a mistake. You are my wife, Emily." "Emily, he said, "I understand that I have made a lot of mistakes over the years. Every night I dream that you question me. Why you killed our child. I dream that the child says, 'It will never forgive me in this life.' I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want to see you again. Even just once." He spoke sincerely, but I felt ridiculous. I can't tell anymore which of his words are true, which are not. I looked into his eyes and said coldly, "Why have you suddenly come back to me? Has something happened to Sophia again? Do you need my child's stem cells again?" "No, it's not like that." Lucas interrupted me painfully. "Emily, between Sophia and me, I only see her as a sister. Nothing happened between us. If it wasn't for the doctor saying she wouldn't live long, and if you hadn't suffered so much at your stepmother's, I wouldn't have fallen in love with Sophia." He was right. At first, he really didn't like Sophia. He even hated her as much as I did. He never gave her a kind word. And at school, he always made things difficult for her. But gradually, he discovered that Sophia wasn't as bad as I made her out to be. She held my hand in scalding hot boiling water, but she greeted Lucas with a smile. She spread rumors about me, but she acted as if someone was trying to bully her. And Lucas happened to come to her rescue. She took Lucas' hand and pretended to be pitiful as she apologized. Later, she became seriously ill. She looked even more pitiful. Lucas decided on his own to forgive her. He even went so far as to sacrifice my 4 children to save her. He was capable of doing this for Sophia. Love is no longer important. You don't love her, but you kept lying to me about having children. It was just to save her life. You don't love her, but you gave her a bunch of jewelry at her birthday party. You don't love her, but you left me for a little scratch she got. I was so nervous. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. His face showed the panic of being exposed. "Go away. I don't want to see you again. If you feel guilty, go kneel in front of the graves of the 4 children you killed. Atone for your sins." I turned to go, but Lucas wouldn't let me go. He didn't go. Instead, he stayed at the orphanage every day. It was as if he was glued to me. He helped out at the orphanage. He exercised with the children. He bought them lots of toys. And he provided the orphanage with excellent medical equipment. The children at the orphanage all loved him. Only I was different from them. Every time I saw him, I would think of my 4 unfortunate children. Lucas bought the entire cemetery just to build a luxurious grave for our 4 children. I thought this was really ridiculous. This was just to make up for his inner guilt. Sophia came looking for me at some point. I don't know if it was because she stopped treatment or because she had done too many bad things and was being punished. Her face looked extraordinarily pale. "Lucas, come home with me. During the years you were gone, I really missed you." She didn't seem to be in a very good state of mind. She kept mumbling Lucas's name. "I liked you first. Why did you marry Emily? I had already won you over. You fell in love with me too. Why did you go back to her now?" She shouted at me. "You're a bad person. You probably don't know. In fact, those so-called rare diseases are all lies I told you. Haha." I just had ordinary leukemia. I was cured long ago. I bribed the doctor a long time ago. I just didn't want to see Emily give birth to your child." Lucas suddenly froze. His face was full of remorse. He slapped Sophia hard. Sophia fell to the ground. The blood dripping from the corner of her mouth made her look even more terrifying. "Now you know you regret it. When you gave me your own child. Why were you so decisive?" She suddenly became delirious again, mumbling, "You do love me, right? Lucas, you said you loved me. If it weren't for that, you wouldn't have given up your own child just to save me." Lucas was so angry that he grabbed her head, time and time again. She smashed her head against the wall. Her face was covered in blood, but she still laughed loudly. Suddenly, the room where the children were napping caught fire. The flames were fierce. Sophia got up from the floor. She laughed loudly. "I'm going to destroy you all." Unfortunately, the flames quickly spread to her. She desperately screamed and fought the flames, but the flames grew more and more intense. Sophia was swallowed up by the fire. In the nap room, the children were fast asleep. I rushed in, hoping to save as many as I could. Lucas was also roused and joined me in the rescue. When we pulled the last child out, the old door frame suddenly fell down. Lucas was trying to save the children and got hit hard on the back. Fortunately, all the children were safely rescued. The children surrounded me and cried nonstop. I comforted them one by one. Lucas stared at me for a long time. The next day he left. Before he left, he said, "I owe you, and the children, I can never repay you." I said calmly, "Is there anything else? If not, I'll go now." The last time I saw Lucas was on TV. He apologized publicly to all the media and the audience. He admitted that the so-called medical group was actually his own 4 children. He expressed his deep apologies to the children and his wife. Soon he was disowned by everyone. Suddenly, there was an astronomical sum in my bank account. I could never spend it all in my lifetime. Lucas transferred all the money to me. He himself was convicted of a crime. He was to be executed soon. I donated all the money to a welfare organization. I hope that every child can grow up healthy and happy.